Hey folks, I'm back. So, like I said, I was going to do a second video on the revote and reconsideration possibility for home rule. Lucy, stop. Sorry, that's my dog. But I also wanted to talk about actually the definition of home rule because I really didn't go over that in the last video. I just gave an example of kind of what it looks like. But so December's town council meeting is when they actually voted on the submitting the application to the Home Rule Board in West Virginia. So it's an application process to have home rule. It's not just something automatic that they do. So that vote was purely to have the council vote on whether they were going to submit an application. So during that December meeting, it was a little weird. Some people that were there had to step out, and they didn't have their vote counted. And so Ricky Armill was there at the meeting initially. She had a family emergency. She had to leave. They did not postpone the vote, even though she had a family emergency. And they proceeded with the vote with Angela Newland voting no, and John Pritchard voting no, and Jonathan Paramore voting yes. So it was 2-1 no on the home rule application. And then here comes the mayor and nudges the recorder and lets her know, hey, you can vote, you know? And Mary, the recorder, is like, oh, I can? Oh, okay. And she's like, I vote yes. So now it's 2-2. And what a quinky dink. Ricky's not there, so she can't vote no. And what a quinky dink. The mayor, breaks up ties. So now she gets to vote. And let's all guess what she voted. She voted yes. So now the town of Paw Paw, even though they everybody told their council members that they did not want it, now we end up having an application going to the home rule board. Gotta love democracy or whatever it is going on in that building. But anywho, so this is where we're going about. I'm talking about revote and reconsideration. Sorry, Greg is talking in the background. But anyway, so we're talking about revote and reconsideration. So my understanding is, okay, so in January's council meeting, they did not approve the minutes. I was not there for the February meeting. They did not approve the minutes for the December meeting as well. So I think the logic is because they think if they don't approve the minutes, that the home rule application vote is kind of like not real. But in actuality, the minutes is just a record of what happened. So the action already took place. So that whole theory about the minutes not being approved, therefore the home rule thing is null and void. That's actually false. I understand what people are saying, and it makes sense, like logically when you think about it. But the thing is, the mechanism of minutes is just to record what happened, not dictate, an action. So it already happened. They voted on it. It was an action. It just merely needs to be recorded. So let's toss that whole theory aside and move on to what we can actually do. So one, there is an option to do a revote and reconsideration. So that would just mean that a council member would have to speak up and say they want to make a motion for a revote and reconsideration on the home rule vote for the application process. And they can make a little short speech saying, I feel it was unethical. I think that the voices of the people of the town of Paw Paw weren't actually heard. Certain council members were not able to vote and we didn't postpone like we should have. You can say whatever you want. That's a way to do it. And it's a matter of not asking whether you make a motion. You just make a motion. And I understand there's a town attorney. His name is Logan Mance. If you Google him, you'll see that he is definitely his thing in his career is to market home rule. So if you do a little research and read some articles on him, like his key to success essentially in one of those things is home rule, because he keeps pushing it everywhere that he gets hired, which is cool. You know what I mean? Like, he's a big fan of home rule. That's awesome. It works in some places. I'm not saying it doesn't work. It does work in some places. It's just not going to work here in the town of Paw Paw. So, with with everything going on in the climate that we have, but anywho, so um, I feel like some people are kind of afraid of that guy or something. Like, like he's this all-knowing person. I mean, like, I don't even think he's been
Poindexter.
I don't even think he's been practicing law for more than 10 years.
Mr.
So it's
Poindexter.
like, I mean, like, honestly, I don't understand why people are so worried about what he has to say. But and the mayor really has no control over it. She cannot decide whether it can be revoted on or not. So it's merely she's merely a moderator of the Robert's Rules of Orders. That's really all her function is. So council member just needs to make a motion, somebody needs to second it, and they get to vote again. The other stronger version is to get the revote and reconsideration actually on the agenda for March, which is tomorrow. If somebody would get it on the agenda to have it spoken about, then we all know that that subject is going to come up, and then that motion is made, and this, that, and the other. That's the second, more stronger version. But all in all, it's it is, you're able to do it, basically. So it's just a clean approach to rescind or amend something that was previously adopted. Um, many bodies, like towns and things like that, do this sometimes because they just want to promote transparency and integrity in the decisions that they make. Things change. So this is definitely one of those things where integrity and ethics comes into play. But with the home rule application, let's just say it keeps going. It goes to the home rule board. They inspect the plan. They make sure that the plan looks right to them. They might kick it back for one reason or another, whether it's some revenue type of piece or something that they're questioning, and they want to have more discussion on it. But bottom line, 99.9% of the time, they're going to go ahead and approve it. There might be some revision, but it's a pretty relatively quick process. But either way, it doesn't matter how far along we're in the home rule process. The council can vote to decide to stop being in this process, whether to, pull back its application, or even if they are considered for home rule in the town of Paw Paw, they can say, hey, we don't want it anymore. So it's not an end all be all. This will always be an issue until home rule is no longer an issue for our town. So, I think that it would be very naive for the mayor and the attorney to think that just because they got this pushed through the application process that that's done. It's really not done. It's never done, because as long as you have a council that can vote on different subjects and bring up things, even though it's already been brought up, there's really nothing they can do about it. But moving on to what is actually home rule, basically it's just lessening the red tape of what they can do and not do. Typical towns and cities in West Virginia have to abide by West Virginia State Code, and that's kind of like the mechanism that they have to work around.
Not Pawpaw.
But with home rule, right, Greg? That you're right about that. But with home rule, towns can innovate more, but within guardrails. But that doesn't necessarily mean that towns can do whatever they want with home rule. But the thing is, if you have weak governance, it can turn into that. So that's really the problem. It's not the fact that home rule is a good or a bad thing. In essence, in black and white, when you read like the documentation at the WVU home rule repository, I mean, if you read it in black and white, home rule is good if it's done correctly. But the problem is we have a weak mayor and we have a weak council. So because of those two things, that's where people's going to start getting picked on and singled out, and things are not going to be done equally, equitably, and things like that, because it opens the floodgates to doing that more. With home rule, you still have to respect and honor the Constitution of the United States, state law, and the home rule program rules. And it's not like they can do whatever they want, but it really empowers localities to feel like they can do what they want. They can update outdated municipal processes, streamline services, create new revenue service sources, like increase like maybe a sales tax. Like it's common for some localities that have home rule to implement like a 1% or 1.5% sales tax in their town to up revenue. To encourage also local economic development. But I'm not really so sure if that's going to happen with this government, because it just doesn't sound good to me. But in other words, home rule technically does run better. But like I said, it just really depends on the people that are behind it. So what home rule can't do. So home rule cannot ignore state law. It cannot violate your constitutional rights. It cannot skip due process. In most instances, it can, the town they cannot operate with just zero transparency. The town cannot just create whatever tax they want with no oversight. But let's just say, if they wanted to do those things, even though it's not ethical, it'd be easier for them. Let's just put it that way. It's not right, but they could, subversely do it under the, under some other guys. But that's not leadership. That's just mismanagement. And that's the problem here, folks. I mean, it's not home rule that's the evil thing. It's the people behind it that want to use home rule for nefarious reasons. They're doing it so they have a tool in their pocket to go after people they don't like, or go after people with properties they want. That's another issue that people probably don't even understand. There are certain council members that
Have these
are
secret companies.
Chomping at the bit, wanting to see properties, have liens put against them, and then so they can come in and swoop in and purchase these properties for, pennies on the dollar.
Their companies is twice as nice because it's named twice. There's the riddle of the day. People research it.
Yeah, and it's people don't know what's going on in the background. I think you have to really get out there and talk to people and do some little bit of research. I've done a lot of FOIA requests, and I've gotten a lot of documentation to support a lot of these opinions that I have. But yeah, it's going to be a mess. It's not going to be great for anybody with this type of government that we have here. But home rule is not an abstract policy. Home rule can affect your daily life.
Can I add to this?
Yeah.
I'm going to say so. It's nothing wrong with starting a company. I think it's a little shady to start one and have it resting up here out of sight. I've started a company. Nothing wrong with it. Now, if I started a company and I'm placing myself on every board to be able to vote on this home rule in every aspect of it, even your streets and your sidewalks, then I'd resign myself from having any company and doing work in that town.
Here, here. But anyways, so things that it can affect you in your daily life, businesses. So licensing fees, local rules, and the overall sense of like, is this town worth investing in? Is my return on investment going to be decent enough for me to even bother to come into this town? So that's another decision that business owners need to make. For property owners, it's going to be enforcement. Like what happens if you keep your trash can out by the curb longer than 48 hours? Well, are they going to give you a ticket for that? If you park your car in your yard and not in your driveway, they're going to give you a ticket for that. I mean, if you park your car on the sidewalk, like a little bit of your tires on the sidewalk, they're going to give you a ticket. You know what I mean? Like, what does this mean in terms of enforcement penalties and compliance? You know what I mean? Are they going to start picking on homeowners because their porch looks a little trashy, but even though down the street somebody's porch has like 3 used couches and is completely filled with trash and nothing is said about that? So that's another thing. And for residents overall, it affects the quality of services, responsiveness, and transparency. And for town finances, it really can change the town's plans for how they acquire revenue and what they're going to use that money for. And hopefully that would be infrastructure, but we don't know. So the bottom line, a town that uses home rule responsibly can be a town that's more investable and functional and more competitive. But what happens when you use it irresponsibly? The town residents don't trust government. Sloppy governance. You have a mayor and a council that are completely useless and do not work for the people. It also exposes the town of Paw Paw to legal risk. I mean, they're not immune from getting sued. There's still federal courts that citizens can sue the town and take them to, because remember, we still have a constitution. Remember, we also still have state laws. And also there is a home rule program regulations. So even though they feel empowered to do more than what they normally could, if they push it too much, somebody could sue them, and realistically they could win, and the government would cause the town of Paw Paw to lose all kinds of money for their irresponsible actions. It can also stall economic growth. Companies don't want to come into the town of Paw Paw if they know that there's all these problems going on and everything like that. I mean, companies want to deal with towns that they're not going to get grief. They're not going to have all these taxes and policies and get harassed for different things. They don't want that. If that's the case, they'll just go somewhere else. So, my thing is, I think it's important for people to attend the meeting tomorrow. It's March 2nd, tomorrow, Monday at 6:00 at Town Hall. Don't have to talk if you don't want to talk, but I think it's important for everybody to see the environment and the climate right now. Ask your town for the home rule plan and application and ordinances. Read the meeting minutes and the agendas where decisions were made, and show up and speak up. Because although you may not want to say anything, but I will say silence is how bad policy gets by. Because when people don't speak up, that's when things just keep going. And it's completely reliant on the people that will point out and say, no, you know what I mean? Like, this is not acceptable. I mean, this is the solution that I have, but somebody has to, put the brakes on it and say, look, I don't agree with this. And, if you have any additional questions about what home rule is and, what your thoughts about it. Go ahead and comment on this video. You can like, subscribe, and share it with somebody, who keeps on hearing about home rule but doesn't know what it really means. So thanks for watching. And remember that local government works for the people, not the other way around. So I hope to see you tomorrow, Monday, March 2nd at 6 p.m. at Town Hall. And if you want to speak, you can. If you don't want to, it's fine. But, your presence speaks louder than words. All righty. Thank you.
Just to meet it's very obvious.
Oh, and then you get to meet. It's very obvious. So I don't know who he is, but he's going to make an appearance, and he's very famous on all things Pawpaw. What is it? I think all things Pawpaw. And he's going to make an appearance. He's going to be on there. So he's going to reveal his identity to everybody. Yeah. And so you can shake his hand after the meeting. So see you all tomorrow. Hopefully. Talk to you later. Bye.